Hi there, welcome back to another edition of Science Screencasting with Mr. Benham. I'm officially taking on the term Sluzzlecast now, as this is a slideshow, an ed puzzle, and a screencast all in one. And this time we're going to be talking about reproduction. Every living thing can create more of its own kind. This is one of the prerequisites for being living, is that you have to be able to reproduce. This is called reproduction. Most animals pair up to do this in couples made up of one male and one female partner. Simple creatures, however, can clone or copy their own bodies without needing a partner. This is called asexual reproduction. The first way we're going to look at of asexual reproduction is something called splitting. Single-celled creatures such as amoebas can reproduce asexually by dividing into identical halves. This is called binary fission. So we have our single-celled amoeba here. It's got nucleus, it's got cytoplasm. It will end up reproducing itself. It'll split through the process of binary fission, and I'm not going to go into every single thing. I'll save that for ninth grade bio. But it will split and form two identical daughter cells. These daughter cells are identical to the parent cell. Now, a few creatures, like corals, remain joined to their parents after asexual reproduction has taken place. This is known as incomplete fission. This coral reef is built up of many corals joined together. So each one of these little things is a coral and it stays on its parent coral. So that there's not an actual complete separation like there is in binary fission. Incomplete fission, they still kind of stay together. Okay, now take a few minutes and answer these questions. The second type of asexual reproduction that I want to talk about is called budding. Some simple animals, such as a hydra that I'm seeing here, will reproduce by forming growths or buds from their bodies. This is called budding. Each bud eventually breaks off and becomes a new individual. What we're seeing here is the parent hydra is creating this bud on the side of it. The bud starts to develop. It's basically its own hydra here at this point, and then finally it splits off and becomes a totally new organism on its own. But it's also an exact replica of its parents. Nothing has changed here. Another example of an organism that does this is a planaria worm. We can see here that it's creating a totally second organism off itself that eventually is gonna split off it and will become an organism. But it's very important to know that it's creating a totally an exact copy of itself. Okay, now I'd like you to answer these questions. Okay, now let's talk about breaking down and building up of new organisms. A small number of animals can produce new individuals from parts of their bodies. This is called fragmentation. Fragmentation happens in an organism called a flatworm. If a flatworm is broken into pieces, like here we have a flatworm that was decapitated, each piece can become a new worm. So we see here the body of this flatworm starts to grow after 7 days. We see a new head forming after 10 days. And after 2 weeks, we have a fully developed another flatworm, which is an identical copy of the original flatworm. In the same way, this flatworm's head that was decapitated will grow a new body. This is called fragmentation. Some creatures, like starfish, can also reproduce through fragmentation. Sea cucumbers also do this. Certain lizards can regrow parts of their body which have been broken off. When a lizard grows a new part of its body, that's called regeneration. But we also see fragmentation happening here because this starfish has lost an arm. And while, yes, regeneration occurs and the old starfish grows a new arm, fragmentation is also occurring in the fact that that arm is growing a new starfish as well. So, pretty cool. Now, could you answer these questions for me? Okay, so there's some advantages to asexual reproduction. Um, One of them is that the population can increase rapidly when conditions are favorable because it only takes one organism to make another organism. So as long as everything's good, they can make organisms really quick. Uh, Another advantage is that only one parent is needed. It's more time and energy efficient as you don't need to spend a lot of time finding a mate. As we could see later, there's all sorts of mating rituals that organisms have in the animal kingdom, and it's faster than sexual reproduction. Now there's also some disadvantages to asexual reproduction too. It doesn't lead to any genetic variation in our population, so that if something happens, it's more likely that the entire species could be wiped out. The species also is probably only suited to one habitat. And if there's a disease, it's going to affect all the individuals of the population because they're all exactly the same. Okay, these will be your final questions on asexual reproduction. Hope you did well. Hope you paid attention.